Happy?
Yes, so we are called forward for items on the harps, voices round and about. Just start this session of celebrating the contribution of Lichtafarai McConnell to the Tabernacle ones and ones, to the Tabernacle Beauty Call. Sisters over there in the quarters, those who are not sleeping, we're asking them to make the way to the tabernacle. It's what we are all about. I liberating of agency, I was sleep for rise and shine too. Yes, fireman, give thanks. Yes, fireman. Yes, sisters, sons and daughters of Rastafari. The voices are here. Calling the Harpers food, Harpers, we can start. There is no start of a gathering without drums and chant. So we call you ones and ones to come forward to the tabernacle. We can get started. Our global family is there waiting on I for I to just shine up some light on the 129th anniversary. So sons and daughters, near and far, the duty is called. Yeah? That's the Rastafari. Yeah, man, as it was in 1892, the armies of Rasmakanen, the armies of Ethiopia, the priests, the bishops, the deacons, the Batawi priests and all, the villagers, the animals and all went up to Egasaboro, to the home of Governor Rasmakanen to witness and to be a part of his presence that would bring forth a divine fruit from the womb of Lady Yeshima Bet and the line of Rasmakanen and the ancient line of Kush and beyond to the Davidic families. So we're looking forward for ones and ones to come forward. Strike the bass, BSC. We are looking for a nice repeat of us come in, that we can have some chants. All the chanters, we are looking forward to guide them too, to just come forward and make it a glorious moment of drums and chant in the order of the Nyahbinghi. With a repeater. Nice repeater. Anyone who's known to be able to play the harps can do so. Yeah. Voices in the tabernacle, voices, come on, come on, final call. We're looking forward for one to us. Come forward in this moment, in this solemn moment of chant, in honor of Lichtafarai's 129th birthday. So we know it has been a long night for many who are here chanting and be tardy. Remember, today is the day of celebrating Lichtafarai's. They want to take the job back.
Keep it low. Greetings.
Aye. Rastafari.
Yes, I know. Would I just love, I don't know how the program is here, but would I just love open my little Nyahbinghi session, and then I could go into the program. Yes, I know that. You know?
Yeah, man, Rise Up the Isis, Rasaya V, 129, Celebration, Iowa.
Yes, Ras IFV, and also please just know that the programmatics really is in the I's hand. And you and Ras Ivi, so I and I will support, but we want the Nyahbinghi family, the leadership, to pull up along with the Idor leadership, our beloved Mama Waleti and Brother Johnny. So fullness King I. Ras Ivi, blessings.
Just to get some technicalities sort out audio-wise.
Yes, sir.
Going, yeah?
According to the will, give thanks, Your Majesty. Work it through, but all will be well. Give thanks.
Sisters, we are gathered together in fire.
Was crowned as King of Kings. Was crowned the Lord of Lords. He's the power of the Trinity. He's the power of the Trinity. He came down like rain upon the moon ground, and like showers with water in the earth. He shall fly higher, big every morning, crowned the King of Kings. He was crowned the Lord of Lords. Reached the far all the Ethiopians rejoice and be glad. Reach the far the power of the he conquered Muslims and he conquered Muslims. A glorious 129th birthday of Lichtafarai Makanen. What a blessed moment it was back then in 1892. If we recall the pages of history, we know it was a very momentous occasion. All the prayers have been said, the 7 prayers around the fire key was lighted, first light, and it was a night of glorious Nyahbinghi. I have been told, not been present, but we know when the Nyahbinghi sons and daughters meet at the king's feet, it's continuous Isis. That is a blessing that we have, and if we can perfect everything we do as we perfect the drums and chant of the Nyahbinghi, all will be well. Hallelujah! Hallelujah! So we do give thanks. Russ Ivy, you want to start the ball rolling, be there from early. So we give thanks. We can just, give thanks to the family that is out there on social media, listening in, viewing in. It is part of just utilizing technology to the highest level. Once we utilize technology in a positive way, it is in keeping with what Ababa Janai Haile Selassie first wanted for Ethiopia, to use this medium in a positive way and not in a negative way, as we have seen over the months. But we are here using the medium in a positive way. And we say welcome to all sons and daughters on the platform globally. We know most ones are caught up in their own spaces, doing ISIS globally. Some of our beloved brethren got 7 hours ahead already, some 5 hours, some another 2 or 3, and some are still behind, as in California, where we know there's a tree light ISIS up there in Squaw Valley. That's Isaac and the family over there. But we do give thanks to the global family celebrating this occasion. We look forward to the day when Ethiopia will return to the days when the Earth Day of His Imperial Majesty is celebrated right across the length and breadth of Ethiopia, and children will be singing praise songs for His Imperial Majesty, Ababa Janai Haile Selassie first. We pray for that restoration, because we have seen Ethiopia plunge in a sea of distress from 1974 until this present time, when there is chaos on the motherland. We salute the brothers and sisters over there in Shashamane, who also stood up in the face of the scenarios taking place, and we know the fire keeps lighting and the eyes is ongoing in Shashamane, the praise and worship of His Divine Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. But we do give thanks. We give thanks for this space, and we give thanks to ones who are able to be on, to just be a part of, Idor, Nyahbinghi, or one big family, shining some light globally on the importance and the significance of Haile Selassie I 129th year. This should not just be a Rastafari celebration, based on the life and works and contribution that our Divine Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I made to Africa. In particular, Africa. There will never be a liberated continent and a free peoples of Africa without that input of His Divine Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie I. We remember his plea for Ethiopia at the League of Nations, June 30th, 1936. He did not just talk about Ethiopia, but all the peoples of the world subjected to tyranny and aggression from these economic predators and land grabbers that were all over Europe and the rest of the world. So we give thanks for his contribution. As we say, all nations on the earth should recognize that the 21st century, the 20th century, from early time, has seen a great leader, second to none, in the person of Kadamawi Haile Selassie I. And today should be a day when we honor such a great son of the African continent. So we just invite Ras Ayavi, and then after that we go into a level of reasoning, and it will involve others. I'm not sure how the chair may have it, but I take the privilege to just introduce Ras Ayavi. As they all know, a stalwart needs little or no introduction. He has been in the forefront for many years as an advocate of Rastafari and an advocate towards the liberation of the Holy Sacrament. He has been seen in numerous spaces agitating for that right. It was one of the biggest obstacles in the way, because the police couldn't harass Rasta about criminality. The only thing they could harass Rasta about was the fact that they made the sacred herb illegal, and that placed Rastafari in a very serious condition when it comes to law. Ras Ayavi has been in the forefront of agitating that rights and privileges in terms of demonstrations and movements, coupled with the elders knocking at the doors of the prime ministers there over years. We have seen, things have changed, but not in a respectful way to I and Ras Ayavi is still there on the front line agitating that these laws recently passed still is to no benefit to the movement. So we can just invite Ras Ayavi to just come forward. We could just applaud Ras Ayavi as he comes forward. Family, that's the time.
Yeah, give thanks to Ayavi. Give thanks to my man, brethren and sisters here. Give thanks to my man, brethren and sisters on the platform. And I just want to make ones know that all the time I gather and I the great and I majesty earth strong. But having observed the Nyahbinghi for years, and I know that more education could have been done where a person and personality of His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie is concerned. And I know most ones coming to the Bingi will say, Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, and conquering Lion of Child of Judah. But in terms of His Majesty's life and contribution to international peace, to inter-Africa dispute, how His Majesty went about dealing with issues, most I and I virgin and sisters don't know. So I man look into it and say, you know what, I know that of Friday be a very educational and informative day. So I man call Jalani and say, Jalani, so and so and so and so. And in no time, I hear Raswayne call I. And so Raswayne and the Igor family is willing to provide a platform that I and I, the Nyahbinghi Resident System here, could co-host a program with the Igor family in terms of presenting His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie life to I and I congregation. So I hope that ones and ones who are on the ground hearing this will come into the tabernacle and be enlightened in terms of His Majesty's way of life, His Majesty's contribution to the liberation of African people, whether on or off the continent. So again, I do a family, I salute them for in such a short time making the island platform there available to I and hoping that at the end of the day, leaving here, sealing up this presentation and discussion, and I will feel satisfied that yes, it was worthwhile being here, participating in this conference call. There have been a lot of rumors and slanders and maligning of my brethren and sisters characters by individuals. And then I want to make it clear that this will not continue to happen in the Nyahbinghi house. The individuals who feel that they have the right to slander, undermine, and malign people's character, there is no space inside the tabernacle for these individuals. And we're hoping and appealing to the international community that this is a stand that must also be taken by the international community in order to help grow the movement that I and I will achieve and our aims and objectives. So again, Rastafari brethren and sisters, I salute the item. The brethren and sisters here gather at the Nyahbinghi. Yes, it was a nice iron light of Nyahbinghi, starting early, firelight, and right through the morning, earthquake, and the harpers. I have to give thanks to these anchors because maybe earthquake would have gone until I know if I never said things. I earthquake, you don't have to burn out yourself, you know, but again, give thanks.
All right, beloved. So what I want to do now, I just want to set the tone, of, the birth of Lynch Tafari, because sometimes we take it that everyone knows. I in my community said to me, and I see this hygiene a very grown Rastaman, and he said, Rasaibai, you mentioned Lady Yeshiva Bed. Who is she? And it was surprising to I that a man I considered a man with more locks than myself, more eyesight than myself, did not know the name Yeshiva Bet. So I'm saying we cannot take it for granted that all of us know and has researched his history, because Yeshiva Bet's life, there's a home in this microphone. Can we get to it? Lady Yeshiva Bet's life came into fore in our history on account of the union with Ras Makanen that could not bear child. Now, I remember saying to my grandson, I was telling him like a story, and they sat around me, a couple of them, and I was telling them that, yes, His Majesty's mother's name was Yeshimabet, was Zero Yeshimabet. She was the wife of Governor Ras Makanen, His Majesty's father. And she became pregnant, and when the time of her delivery, 9 months, the child died. And look at his face, he was sad. And I said, well, Ras Makanen reassured her, they both cried together, they mourned the loss. And then she became pregnant a couple of years after the second child. And it might have been 7 months, 6 months, somewhere thereabout. She lost the second child. And then I saw him looked in my eyes as to say, questioningly, another baby died. And I went on to say, she became pregnant again a third time. And then the third child died. And I said, well, Governor Rasmussen was then a troubled man. 3 of his offspring died. None came to life. And being a devout Orthodox Christian, he knew that he was not wrong in his doing. He was kind, he was loving and caring to his people, and he governed with justice. So he did not believe that could have governed perish. I went on to say, there's something going on, but we still want to continue. There might be a device so we can have the perfect harmony. So the fourth child died. Then I said to my grandson that Rasmussen was so troubled, but he went up to visit Emperor Menelik. And Emperor Menelik, the emperor of Ethiopia at the time, would pat him on the shoulder and say, come on, Rasmussen, be not daunted. You're a man of God, and I know the grace of the God of Ethiopia will grant you an offspring from your union. Be no trouble. And we know when he went to church, the Abba would have said the same thing to him. But Rasmussen wanted to have a seed, a child, a fruit by his union with Mary Yeshua. I went on to tell my grandson, my grandchildren, that the fifth child she was pregnant with. And Jain got up and said, no, grandpa. Not 10 said I want you there. Somebody said, yes, Jain. The fifth child also died. He got a little disinterested in the conversation because it seems so sad. But who would not be sad? Because most of us, if we are a woman, a queen, an empress, a wife, and 5 times she become pregnant and you lose a baby. No, man. That woman I look like something wrong with her. I look like there's something I want. And then you add the men from the hills, you know, in every country you have the soothsayers, you know. You have the man that feels that he's so highly spiritual, he can know. He will come say, Governor, you know, say, in a Jamaican terms, you look like somebody out there alive, you know. I have to go make me do something for you, you know. I mean, know what you're doing, you know, to get them to think after your wife, you know. This is like some evil. But you know, Rasmussen, a devout Orthodox Christian, these things are abhorred. They would not subscribe to going to go look, you know, science man, no little other worker, or no little ego up in the bush, or no little soothsayer. Rasmussen was a man of God. So he felt that prayers and his good life should be enough. So the 6th time Yeshua became pregnant, and the same thing happened. It's like you have to wait. And what is brother? And what going here? This is serious. Yeah, this is serious. It's like you feel for us. I'm up here upon the middle of a bother with this thing. Because nothing now. It's like you plant corn every day and the corn come up and in 3 months it be that way. I said, wait, and you dig up the side and you plant corn again and it be that. And you dig and you plant all beans this time and it dry up. I said, no, I'm not bother with that side. Now go somewhere else. Rasmussen would not go elsewhere because he's a man of God and decides, say, no, I am clean from within, and what is happening, I must overcome. The 7th child also perished. You know, so when I come to him and say, Governor, you know, I learn, you know, me tell you, so somebody rocks up on you, brother, and you know, listen to me, watch what they happen if you don't listen to me. The 8th child come on the same thing after. What do you think Rasmussen child do? Can you have some mother come and say, Pastor Colin, me have a daughter. From the minute you take off your pants, she pregnant. I do it she. To that she I'm going to pass my daughter to you. These things must never happen. Because everybody wants the governor to bring forth a son, even though he had a son prior to with his first wife named Yilma. Ras McCullin wanted a son by his wife, Lady Yeshima. So with the 8th child gone, all the wise men from the hills no more, still converging, still dialoguing and say, Governor, your wife is pregnant now with the 9th child. But this time, this child shall live. But you must take your wife from Harar up to the other mountain in the Gospel of Goro to ensure the safety of her delivery. So rest my confidence and read. Then if it's God who gives and God who takes life, you have the authority. Then bringing her to the higher mountain. If the child is dead, the child will be dead same way. If it's the will of God. So whether we stay in the Harar or go up into the mountain, so, you know, I'm a little bit distracted by those interactions. But you know, with all that now, Ras McCullin on the side and said to the elder, said, no man, I don't think taking her up to the gospel war will change anything. The will of God that the child shall live, the child will born in Harar and live. Well, you know, the elder would have said to him, well, Ras McCullin, I have gotten a word for you, I have delivered my word, and just gone back to you. It's up to you. So when God Ras McCullin said, well, all my children are spirits so far, might as well I hearken to this voice, not try, not done. So he prepared himself and went to the gospel war, organized the day, and it was said that a unity of priests, bishops, and monks is the villagers around the gospel war, around Harar, journeying with them to like a royal caravan going up to the gospel war. Yeah. And even the animals, it was said, animals were seen making the trek along the road into the bushes from limb to limb, going up to Egasogoro in the higher mountain to his little country house to ensure the safe delivery. So you know, as we gathered last night, it's drums and chant from the ancient church of Ethiopia. The armies of Ras McCullin were there too, armed to the teeth. And then they have man who say, oh, we know how to ward off evil. And them up there too. Because them said, by any means necessary, Ras McCullin's son shall live. This child shall live. And then even prior to that, they said astrologers and seers were saying that in 1399, they saw Neptune and Pluto moving towards each other in a heliocentric line, and it will take 492 years for these planets to bisect each other, and that will affect the constellation of Leo. And a child was born in Ethiopia, and he shall reign as the conquering Lion of Judah upon the throne of David. So, they too were looking out to see this manifestation. And it was said that in 1892, a star also came up that became synonymous to the birth of Christ. And if you read David Talbot's Silver Jubilee, he wrote that Haile Selassie I was said to be born under a fortunate star and was regarded as a prodigy, a special child. So, at that night, you know, the drums and the chant and everything is going on, and the midwives inside are praying, and one of the prayer was to Our Lady Saint Mariam, asking the Mother of Christ to be near Yeshua, because up to now, not one of her children has lived. So all those prayers, and you must know, Ras McConnell was doing paces on his veranda, going from one end to the next in solemn meditation and prayer. And you know, you would have done so. You know, so why all of you and perish. Your prayer up. That was the mood of Ras McConnell. And at the time, when everyone outside with the drums and chant and incense burning and everything, and when Ras McConnell heard the door open, and when the door opened, he heard a cry, and a midwife highlighted at the door and said, my governor, a son is born. And then there were claps of lightning and thundering and showers of blessing. And then the armies outside started fire the rifles in celebration, and the drums and the chant and the jubilation and the revelation went out the miles, and the rain that had ceased for a number of years, as said in the scripture, it shall come down like rain upon the moon grass and like showers which water the earth. That Saturday, Nyahbinghi, McConnell was born. And as they said, the midwives wiped a little butter on his lips that he made known to choose the good and refuse the evil. Hail! 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 So the drums and chant continue because Nyahbinghi came from the womb, and Ras McConnell rushed inside, and the writer said he smiled at his son to know that yes, a child is born, a son is given. So Ras Nyahbinghi have an introduction to make, just come forward, because this is just one chapter of the birth, and we're going to take it from there. Rastafari.
Well, the version of the system again, I love how they are coming and seated. But I just want to turn over the discussion a little to the idol family. But Sister Velete, Dr. Sister Velete, Sister Dr. Velete, is chairperson, and Brother Johnny is president. Sister Velete is president, and Brother Johnny is vice president. So I would have turned forward the floor to one-on-one, Sister Velete, Brother Johnny, and then I take it from there and we come forward. Rastafari. So.
Yes, I. Greetings and blessings, Pit 4, Rastafari family. Give thanks, greetings, Ras Nyahbinghi, Daughter IB, Ras Nyahbinghi, all the ones and ones that I see there coming together to give Isis and to give thanks on I High Holy Day, July 23rd. Yeah, man, we glorify in Kidamawi Haile Selassie and Empress Menen Asfa, and I give thanks for the moments. Can the eyes hear I clear?
Yes, you're clear, my sister.
You're clear. Greetings, Ras Nyahbinghi, love in the house, Rastafari. Yes, we give thanks. Yeah, man, we just, we're coming in and, we got the sound that the eyes wanted to share the platform in this very islandful time of 129 earthly presence of Kidamawi Haile Selassie. And I found it prudent to really.
Just 1 minute, Sister Walete.
Yes, I.
Not seeing you available.
Oh, sorry. I think they can see it, right? I think this is all right.
You can go and talk while you get.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, yeah, man, is prudent and necessary. Iowa, and I know that I are trotting through very terrible and judgment times within the earth. not any different from a one who's been trodden for 50 years or one who's been trodden from maybe last strong. Terrible and judgment times within the earth. And these are times where I really need to tap into the vibration of Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen Asfa and be obedient servants in the vineyard of goodness. So I are coming forward to share a sound with the eyes on education, not necessarily education that culminates with a one being called doctor or bachelor's or master's, not necessarily university or higher ed education, but the education that will allow I to safeguard I selves as a humanity and to preserve Africa and Rastafari liberty. The kind of education that His Majesty speaks about outside of the institutions, the kind of education that will teach I in these times, because that's what I have to do, brethren and sistren. We have to take the examples that His Majesty has given and is giving I pray thee. Take the examples when we listen to His Majesty's speeches, when we listen to the opening of universities and various trade schools, when we listen to the word sound of His Majesty at the graduations, when those students have accomplished what they have set out to do. I must take those examples, take those word sound, and in obedience, apply it to what is necessary for our lives today as Rastafari people seeking to re-enter the continent of Africa. All of this I would be doing in obedience. So if you are a farmer, then you should farm the best to the best of your ability. If you are a seamstress, then you should sew. If you are a chef, then you should cook. And if you are born with that very high intellectual ability, like many of I are, then you should seek to expound on that and bring forward what has been learned to the community. You know, I going on the Zooms and a lot of ones are saying, oh, doctor this one and doctor that one. Yeah, for some of I it's been 15 years, it's been 20 years. It's not anything recent, and it was all done in obedience. And I have brought forward that higher learning, what Babylon considers to be a terminal education, the final level within Babylon I have conquered and brought that forward to I community. To whom much is given, much is expected. So when you hear education, don't shy away. These are the words of Kedamawi Haile Selassie when he charges I with becoming members of a new race. He charges I with learning, seeking to develop ourselves, take it forward to the continent and uplift Africa. Right now, there's so much happening as it relates to ganja farming. Jamaica is leading or should be leading in the world as it relates to ganja farming. This is I Hola Sacrament. Who knows it more than the Rastafari of Jamaica and the Rastafari now globally? And I must take these treasures and these natural things that have been given to I as blessings, take them and use them to generate resources, economics, so that we can move forward the village. It's not individual work. It's not my work, because for I can go to Africa in the morning, but it is the work of the community, the work of the people. I can't plant yam. You know, I can't farm. I could learn to farm, but a farmer would have to teach I. So I have to make sure when I re-enter Africa, I take the farmer with me. I have to make sure that I take the seamstress with me. I take the doctor or the what you would call like the ones within in the Caribbean, how we call them, those people that we go to for healing. Sometimes you have a rash that won't go away and they say, oh, go down the street and check Miss May. She'll give you something to put on it. let's not forget these people within I community, because at the end of the day, this is the community. This is the village. This is the education of which we speak, right? So this is the word sound that I'm bringing to the eyes. I have my publication here. I heard Ras Ivai in his knowledge base, which is so broad. I heard him in his knowledge base blocking on the many births of Yeshimabet Ali Abba Jifar, the mother of Lich Tafari. And I heard him speaking of all the youths that came forward and then went forward before they had a chance to really be born. I have several things in the book. I'm not going to block on her transition. That's actually in here as well. But I will talk a little bit about her in this moment to just strengthen what my brethren was blocking. And then Brother Johnny will come forward and reason a little bit about a sound that His Majesty blocked on education. So we're going to loop it and come full circle to what I and I are reasoning on today. But I wanted to just come in and touch this piece and strengthen a little bit about who Yeshimabet is, so that the eyes will have that knowledge. Because His Majesty on July 23rd, 1892, came forward in the flesh, being born of Yeshimabet Ali Abba Jifar and Ras Makonnen, and is the prophetic fulfillment on earth. At the time of His Majesty's coming forward, there had been 3 years of drought taking place in Ethiopia. And traditionally, Ethiopia full-joyed 2 different rainy seasons. So that would have been an absence of 6 rainy seasons. For 3 years, there was no rain. I know that there has to be rain, not just for the trees, for I. If there's no rain, there's no food. So if there's drought, there's famine. You know, there's no cattle, whether it's for sipping or for labor. For I would be labor, but there's no cattle because there's no rain. We know the importance of rain. And at the time of His Majesty's coming forward in the flesh, as Ras Makonnen got the good news that the youth had come forward, he was born, and what the seers and the astrologers had been prophesizing from such time had now been fulfilled, as he exited the gate to make his way to the city of Hara. Rain sprinkled on his tunic. His Majesty's coming forward in the fulfillment of prophecy brought forward the end and a screeching halt to a 3-year drought. So I will tell the eyes just a little bit about His Majesty's mother. She was the daughter of Walata, so sort of like the name that I use, but with the A on the end as opposed to the E. So it's Walata Ihata, Ihata, and Georgis, as in the Amharic for George. Walata Ihata Georgis. This is the name of Yeshimabet Ali's mother. This is the name of His Majesty's grandmother, right? So she was of Amhara, I believe. Let me find where I'm reading. I pray thee. She was of Amhara descent for one parent, and the other parent was of Guragi descent. And the Guragi, and that's spelled, it looks like garage, but it's actually Gurage, Guragi. The Guragi are the ones within the Ethiopian culture that you often see with tattoos right around their third eye. So they may have a cross, or they may have some other symbolism right about in this region. And that's not necessarily always Guragi, but often it's part of the Guragi culture. So Yeshimabet's mother was part Amhara and part Guragi. Oh, it has a delay. Okay, I'm hearing it. Okay. All right, so let me tell the eyes a little bit about her. So it says here that she all right, I pray the eyes hearing I all right? Can the eyes hear I Ilaful?
Eli,
Yes, I.
Nasi,
Yes, I, blessed love. We give
and
thanks.
Empress.
Yes, I. So it's Raskamara. Yes, I. So it says, while considerable documentation, and I'm reading from page 73 of my book, while considerable documentation about Wazero Yeshimabet Ali Abajifar deficient or not available, her character can be established based on that of her progeny, based on that of her son. One can surmise without reservation that she's of esteemed integrity and regency. She was born to a father that had been a former trader from the region of Gondar. And we know, based on what we know about Ethiopia, that Gondar is the region of all the castles, all of the little castles in Ethiopia, that's the region of Gondar. And we know that Lalibela would be the rock-hewn churches. Oh, okay, someone is saying to mute all mics. It looks like everyone is muted. Ras Oliver. Is there still feed forward? Are the eyes hearing feed forward?
We're hearing you clearly, Sister Woleti. All is well.
But she's her father had been a trader from Gondar, and he went to the Waro-Ilu region. And I'm going to spell that so the eyes will know what I'm blocking. We're dealing with education. So the region of W-E-R-E, pronounced Weru, and I-L-U, Waro-Ilu, right? And that region is in the Wollo region, W-O-L-L-O. So her father, a former trader from Gondar, and gone over to the Waro-Ilu region, where he was now a leader or sort of in charge of the Waro-Ilu clan or the Waro-Ilu people. So they speak about her coming from what is referred to as sort of a petty nobility. So she had some nobility in that her father was in charge of an entire region, entire clan. So to give the eyes an idea of what I'm reasoning about, it would be like maybe a parish in Jamaica. So if you're talking about St. James Parish, that whole Montego Bay region, or St. Catherine, if that's a parish, is St. Catherine a parish? St. Catherine, right? So right, her father was in charge of a region, the region in that Wollo region, which would be like a parish. And at times, it was not limited just to that one region. Wherever the people went to, and they often traveled sort of in a nomadic way, then it would expand his leadership of the region. So they considered Yeshimabet to come from petty nobility. This would be the grandfather of His Majesty. Right, her mother was of Amhara and Guragi descent, and the mother's father was Ras Yilma, who was prominent within Amhara. So she had some Amhara heritage, some Guragi heritage. She ended up living in the household of the ruling family at the time. She lived in the household of Ras Dargay. And I'll tell the eyes that Ras Dargay is the son of Negus Sahale Selassie, who would have been the king of Showa. The whole Showa region was his region that he ruled. They were the ruling family at the time. King Sahale Selassie, or Negus Sahale Selassie, she grew in that household. How did Yeshimabet get into the household of the ruling family all the way from Wollo? The Wollo region is not that far off from there. When I visited the region, I went from Addis Ababa on a small plane to the Kombolcha airport. From the Kumbulcha airport, then you make your way via taxi to Desi, to the capital, to Desi. And then from Desi, and I made arrangements to charter a vehicle about 4 hours away to Wollo. So it's like if you're in Miami and you're going up to Orlando about 3 hours, or in the old days before they had that bridge that takes you to Montego Bay, kind of the 3-hour travel coming from the city going into that country region, right? So she got there because her mother, Walata Ihata Georgis, was the wife of Sahle Selassie's son, Ras Darge. Yes, she was married to Ras Darge. His father was Negus Sahle Selassie, the king of Shoa. So this is the household that Yeshimabet grew in. Her mother has a child from that marriage. So Yeshimabet has a brother whose grandfather is Sahle Selassie. All right. Ras Darge, being the son of Sahle Selassie, means that Ras Darge's sister is the mother of Ras Makonnen. Ras Makonnen is the nephew of Ras Darge and also the grandson of Sahle Selassie, the king of Shoa. So you're seeing the Solomonic dynasty coming forward and the role that Yeshimabet played coming in as the daughter of Walata Ihata, who was married to Ras Darge, and Ras Makonnen, the first cousin of Menelik II. Ras Makonnen was given Yeshimabet from his uncle at the age of 12 years old. Some reports, and I think even in my book, I might have mentioned age 9, which was not out of character. His Majesty did away with those marriages, the child marriages, and he, what do you call it? That's now obsolete in Ethiopia. That doesn't exist, at least not legally. His Majesty did away with that because he saw the disservice that tradition could bring. It's customs and traditions. It's never malicious, but it's not always good for the people. You know, we overstand that. We remember the days when in the Caribbean, when you misbehave and they say, go in the corner and kneel on the grater and hold 2 books. You're holding 2 books, 1 in each hand, and you're on a grater in the corner. That's corporal punishment, but customs and traditions at the time. In any event, His Majesty did away with that vibration, but she was given by her stepfather, who was the uncle of Ras Makonnen, at 12 years old. She was given in marriage. Ras Makonnen was married to the mother, not married. I don't believe it was a formal marriage. It might have been one of the civil ceremonies that was so popular in Ethiopia at that time. But in any event, he was so smitten by what is referred to as her inordinate beauty. And he sealed his vibration with Yilma's mother and married Yeshimabet. And then, you know, Ras Ivai gave an idea, story of the 8 miscarriages, His Majesty coming forward as the 9th birth, and finally her transition in March, I believe March 14 of 1894. So that would have been 2 years almost. It was March, so it was not quite 2 years. His Majesty Lij Tafari would have been 1 year and 9 months old at the time. So my research has taught that it was the 10th pregnancy that was the one that she transitioned therein. And His Majesty is the 9th and the only surviving child of Yeshimabet Ali Abba Jifar. So I just wanted to give the eyes of heavens around this mighty Jah that I and I serve, you know, and the coming forward. First light at the eyes is, I did read a little bit about the birth and the peasants that were filling the hilltops in clusters, fanning out so far that the eye could not see, all of them with a armed, and at the time of the birth, when they let forward the gun salute, it rang out from every hillock, you know, giving thanks and Isis for the coming forward of the prophetic child that had been spoken of. I told the eyes of the drought that came to a screeching halt at the time of His Majesty's birth. And also, I will just mention this little piece, and then I will go forward to the word sound on education. The little piece that I'm going to mention is that about Neptune and Pluto, where they speak about, for several years, Ras Makonen's chaplains and astrologers had been foretelling the infant's birth. Neptune and Pluto, they explained, had slowly started moving toward each other in the year 1399. Both planets traveled along the heliocentric line, taking 493 years to intersect. So if the eyes can even imagine, almost 5 centuries of travel for Pluto and Neptune, 493 years to intersect. And the moment of intersection would come in July of 1892, sparking off radiations from other zodiacal signs that would mystically influence the constellation Leo, which I know corresponds to the biblical house of Judah, right? So I wanted the eyes to hear that sound. They had been traveling for almost 500 years. And at the time of the coming forward of Jah, right? July 23rd, 1892, at that time, in that same, not necessarily that Iowa, but in that Iowa, because if we're dealing with talking about a moon and the full cycle of the moon, it's considered an Iowa, whether it's the first strong or the fourth quarter, right? The first quarter or the fourth quarter. So in that Iowa, in July of 1892, after 493 years, they finally intersected, and the radiation that was let off from their intersection influenced the Judah moon, and that was the coming forward, is the coming forward of Jah, King Kadamawi, Haile Selassie. So for these few words, I give thanks. Rasai, I'm embarrassed to say I have not sent the eyes book. Someone was in Jamaica the other day, and it's on my heart to send. Someone was in the US the other day, and I thought about sending it, but they were trotting to a region that they may never even see the eye. I might see the eye sooner. So I will get the information. I definitely will make it my business to do so and send a few copies over in that region so ones can sip up on the food. Yes, so for these few words, I give thanks to Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen Asfa. Glorious celebration, Iowa, so joyful to be seating up with the eyes on this 129th Earthlight celebration of Kadamawi, Haile Selassie, Lich Tafari. Jah Rastafari. We give thanks. I'm going to give the eyes Brother Johnny, who will block a little bit about some word sounds that he heard through His Majesty and has interpreted as it relates to I responsibility for educating I elders, educating I youths, educating I nation. And when we speak of the nation, not just the nation of Rastafari, but the African nation. So we give thanks. Here's Brother Johnny, Haile Selassie I and Empress Menen.
Yeah, man, I give thanks and praises. Glory to word, glory to sound, glory to the Holy One of Iration, His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie. Give thanks to the King and Queen of Iration. Give thanks to the God and goddesses. Yes, I give thanks on this 129th Earth Strong, Earth Light of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie a glorious occasion, an opportunity for I and I to come together in solidarity as one people. You know, yes, I illustrious Empress mentioned the 500-year wait, 493 years, approximately 500 years for these two planetary alignments to take place, for I and I to get to see the glory of the King of Kings, the King of the universe. Baba Janai. Yes, I will give thanks to those stones. But as I and I talk about education, there's a speech Kadamawi made at the opening of a boys' school in Ethiopia. And he says, knowledge is a treasure that must be grasped and which no one can confiscate. It is a diamond without price, which prevents the breaking of heaven's decrees and preserves from the path to destruction. Knowledge allows you to inherit the kingdom of God, which the mind of man cannot conceive. This is deep. His Majesty is saying here, so the mind of man, I and I, can't even conceive that knowledge that is speaking about. Yes, I. So the Empress said, read that piece again because it's so deep. Yeah. So knowledge allows you to inherit the kingdom of God, which the mind of man cannot conceive, and is a counselor in the time of adversity. And he asks that may God grant I and I that knowledge such that he has described. Yeah, Haile Selassie the first. His Imperial Majesty had three main objectives when it comes to the future of I and I. He laid it out in the selected speeches where he talks about one, every Ethiopian, which means every African, every people of African descent, must be spared from literacy. I and I must be literate. I and I must learn to read. I and I must be educated. It is very important to for I and I liberation from under the yoke of colonialism. Number two, to our own development and our inborn capabilities, I and I may become not a liability, but an asset to I and I nation, to the Rastafari nation, to the global Rastafari nation, to the global African nation. I and I must become an asset and not a liability. And education allows that. And for I and I community wherever I and I dwells. And three, and most important, if not all three are important, but number three, I and I must ripen and mature in our knowledge and education and pass that on for posterity, for all oncoming generation to benefit from that. And so I give thanks for those words. I give thanks for the IMPOs here in Jamaica Pitfalls. I give thanks to I Universal Rastafari family to have this platform so I can block with I brothers and sisters and all harms and hug one another in love and unity. For these words, I give thanks to my family. Blessed love. Nyahbinghi Isis.
Give thanks, brother.
Rastafari. Selassie the first time.
Rastafari. Yes, sir. Rastafari come.
You know, bring on your presenters, and then I hear.
Oh, we can't hear us, IFV. Let me see. Okay.
Did I hear now?
Okay, go forward.
Just a little bit more closer to the equipment that's carrying the Zoom. So coming forward towards the computer would help.
Oh, well, one thing I want to say that I never seen that. But now when I'm a young technician, I've done the necessary so that I can be seen there then now, you know. But we just asking there because, you know, bring on your presenters and here listening, and there are others who are not in the tabernacle, but will be using two speakers outside, one-on-one, will still be hearing there. But, you know, we're looking at things from His Imperial Majesty's life, his contribution, you know, the education, the international politics, the inter-African dispute, how his majesty handled those situations so that people can be aware of who the man was and is, not just from, and I say, I Selassie, I Zoroaster, but for who I Selassie, how he lived, what was his life like in different ways. I Selassie.
Yes, sir. Give thanks. Give thanks to us, IFB. Yeah, man. Oh, somebody's blocking. Pastor. Yes, sir.
Tell me what's next, Sister Valencia. I just want to give thanks to the eye, taking time out to go to Ethiopia because it's time and time again. Look at the many books we have seen on Haile Selassie first. There's many books we have read. You hearing me, Sister Valencia?
Yes, yes, I love it. I'm here in the yeah, man. I was putting up my finger saying 3 times and on that final time. And you know, I want to tell the gathering and the I think I've told the I before Ras Ivi that it was in 2013. So that would have been 8 years ago, driving down the highway one morning. The I is now arrested in Maryland, which is kind of on the Washington, D.C. border. So they kind of just marry into each other, sort of. And I was driving down the highway in 2013 one morning, just after 6 a.m., and I was giving ISIS. It was a time in my life when I didn't like, you know, the quick ISIS that I had been given. You know, as I put my foot on the ground, yes, Haile Selassie, give thanks for life, guidance and protection for our family, just really quickly. And then you move into the rat race of which Babylon is, you know? So I made a concerted effort to really, when I'm on the highway, no music on, nothing playing, just giving ISIS for the 30 minutes. And at that time, 8 years ago, I heard a very distinct sound within my heavens. It wasn't really a voice, it was more of a message. And the message was, I repeated it to say, you want me to write a book about your mother. I had just been chanting and giving ISIS. And then I spoke that. It wasn't an audible sound. No one in the vehicle would have heard it, but it was something that came into my iris and I blocked it. You want me to write a book about your mother? And this was 2013. And I believe it might have been about 2015 or 16. I said to my sister, to Rases Jazanai, I said, sis, remember I did tell Leai that His Majesty asked I to write a book about his mother? And she repeated, yeah, man, you did tell I and you didn't do it? Yeah, I didn't do it. You see, the obedience and to obey is better than sacrifice. So that's how the book came forward on that 3rd trip to Ethiopia, to actually trod to the region, to reason with the people and look at archives and just find whatever it is there was. Yeah, that's how it came forward. It's not even a task I would have taken on my own, but in obedience, as I heard the utterance, or at least recognize the utterance in my heavens that this is the work that I should do. And in obedience, yeah, I brought it forward. So we give thanks. Yes.
Nice to hear that. A nice applause, everyone. Nice applause. Nice, sister. No, I'm telling the eyes, thy will be done. Once the king command, it is I and I duty to fulfill. Give thanks that I was able to go forward because I know it's a financial endeavor too in preparation to leave, you know, Babylon to journey out to IT work there with monetary, you know how it is. But I have done well in terms of that kind of work because most of the books we have read about our divine majesty was written by white folks, white researchers. So few are the black intellectuals who took time out to go to Ethiopia. Angeline Parnell, who did a version of the biography of Her Majesty, Empress Menen, also we commended her. There were ones who was eating back at her as a white woman. And I said, listen, the will of the king must be done. So if Angelique Parnell could go to Ethiopia, I'm sure there are many scholars who have the money, the resources who could have done what Angelique did and didn't even think about doing it. So as a white person, she had it in her to go to Ethiopia to present her majesty in a nice way in that biography. We must commend her. But most of all, our own people, when our own Rastafari sister is called upon by His Majesty, and I'm sure you know who talked to you and said, go and research and present a book on my mother. His Majesty knew that there was so much history about her because he only was 2 years old when she died. So he himself would not have known much about his mother either, unless it was told to him by the elders, that he grew up around. So he said the work, Sister Oletia, I'm still waiting on my copy that I can share page to page with the Nyahbinghi community, and I know we'll talk on that. But we do give thanks because the book is out there. We can learn more about Lady Shima Bet and why she was the one chosen to be the wife of Rasmakanen, because many of the prophecy, many wise men of the prophecies knew that the Christ child would come through the womb of an Ethiopian. So Moses thought it might be him, so he married an Ethiopian woman. Solomon also had union with an Ethiopian woman, because they knew that there was a prophecy that through the womb of an Ethiopian, the Christ child to sit on the throne of David would come. Why? Probably Rasmakanen didn't know that too, because he wouldn't let go this woman, not at all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, no. It did get a divine calling. So Rasmakanen, you see that empress that he could have, don't let her go. Satan will battle against her. Despite what, don't give up. You shall be the victor, because from that womb will come a child that will be raised up to sit on the throne of David and to be crowned the conquering Lion of Judah, the King of Zion, King of Israel, light of the world. So Rasmakanen was faithful in that union. And then, 2 years after Tafari was born, she died with what would have been the 10th child that should not have been. So we can say Tafari conquered death and was raised to life. Yes, so when I hear about 1975, if any my baby ma conquer it, then everybody conquering lion. Death have no sting. So we can say Yeshima Bet, despite her trial and tribulation, Revelation tell about a woman that was with child, but the dragon battled against the woman that she had to go into the wilderness, and she brought forth a man-child that was brought up to God on his throne. That's fulfillment of prophecy. Here they are. Here they are. Here they are. So we could write Holy Yeshima Bet, Mother of God. Because it's from her womb came forth the King that we recognize today as God in flesh. So when the Orthodox Church would say, Hola Maria, Mother of Christ, we are saying, Hola Yeshima, Mother of Haile Selassie, the Mother of God in flesh, the powerful Trinity. So we know what the birth of this child came with a whole lot of prophecies and mystic and mysticism, because being born under that star, and when we read Timothy White's chapter of Catch a Fire, Thy Kingdom Come, we see the many mystics that is revealed in that chapter. Not sure of the source, but it was said that when priests talked to him, he was describing how the courts of Solomon was adorned. When they look into his palm and see that his lifeline went into infinity, there were so many mystics about this young child, Tafari. It was said that Tafari was seen in the bushes having conversation with wild beasts. That man would run from, they were docile at his feet. And we see his majesty with all the lions around him and all, and everywhere, even animals, fall in his presence. So we knew that this child was not an ordinary child. Rasmakanen knew that. Rasmakanen going to the battle of Adawa ensured that the child was close by in a cave with his retainers and his midwives to ensure that this only begotten son of the union must be protected. When Emperor Menelik heard of this young prince, Menelik said, Makanen, send that boy to me. And must have him in Addis Ababa. And when he was about to take the journey with Rasmakanen's soldiers from Harar, Rasmakanen looked at him and said, Tafari, even though you're small in stature, you're courageous as a lion. Go forward. And so Tafari and his father's soldier went up to the palace of Menelik. When Menelik saw this young man, Menelik knew and said to Makonnen, this young man you sent to me, can't go back over Aram. He's a palace material. He cannot go over. He have to stay with me at the palace. And he was a young man, he astonished Menelik when he was seen talking to his French advisors, not in Amharic, but in French. That's what Governor Emperor Menelik was saying. Where did this you get this vast knowledge that as a young man at 17 I talked to my representatives from France in their language? He called the French envoy to say, tell me something. Is that the prince talking to you in proper language? And he said, oh yes, your majesty. He's speaking to me in French. And Menelik was astonished at the brilliance of this young man. It was said that even when visitors want to give gifts to the young child, he would say, no, I was not advised that I should receive a gift. I must be advised. That means as I know, little gifts they will find him bigger than like a 7-year-old. So we know his upbringing, his knowledge, won the art of Emperor Menelik. But coming up even in a palace, there was jealousy with him and his cousin Yasu, and there was a rock war going on. Yasu always feel like, oh, this little youth always have the good vibes, everyone like him. He clung to the frocktails of the ladies in the palace though. He was like the ladies' pet, young Tafari. But wise in knowledge that at early age he became governor. Never had enough time for childhood things. Governor in his teens, remember prior to Menelik's passing, he had Tafari and Yasu sign a treaty that Tafari would do nothing to usurp Lygias's authority, and Lygias should never do anything to usurp Tafari's authority, and he become the governor of Harar. We know the history. Lygias broke all those oaths. Tafari kept his oath when Menelik died, yes, and the king was to go to the throne. We understand all what took place in that whole situation, because with the authority and just removed Tafari from being the governor of Harar. Oh, as he's indicating that you have other presenters and he knows that I will just stay here and keep talking. History. So this is the way if there's other presenters, you can just ask them and we take it from Tafari in the palace, Tafari going up to be crowned Ras Tafari, the judgment Tafari, Rastafari, Negus Tafari, the Lion of Judah, and his contribution to Ethiopia, to the entire continent, which is Africa and the world. Rastafari. Right. So Sister Waleti, is there anyone else you have lined up? You're not hearing me, Sister Waleti? Sister Waleti, you're not hearing me. Sister Waleti, you're on mute, you're not hearing me? We need a response, Sister Valetti. You're not hearing me? Sister Valetti, you're on mute. Your mic is muted. Sister Valetti. We just want to know, we are looking out and seeing that you're not hearing. Hearing me, Sister Valetti? Sister Valetti, we are not hearing you. Is your mic still on mute? Yeah, we're seeing your mic muted, Sister Valetti. Is it so? Sister Valetti, we're not hearing from you. Is there someone in the technical room who can tell Sister Valetti we're not hearing her? Sister Valetti? Not hearing you, Sister Valetti.
Sister Valetti?
Someone is saying to her, we're not hearing her.
Sister Waletti, can you hear us?
Sister Valetti?
I don't think she can hear us. Yeah, I know.
Blessings. Sister Valetti? Someone who are hearing your voice who will not hear from Sister Valetti.
I'm here. The I calling I Ras Ivai.
Yes, for a long time, a couple of minutes, we were not hearing.
Oh, I pray thee. I'm so sorry. I pray thee forgiveness. Someone called about the book that I just typed in. I pray thee forgiveness, brethren.
All right, well, you were hearing the conversation earlier, right?
I was hearing it in a fullness when the I was blocking on the coming forward. Yes, and Yeshima better, and it's not. I did.
I was saying, chances are I want to have someone as a presenting any other aspect of, Tafari's upbringing, because we're talking. He's in the palace now with Emperor Menelik, yeah, and Governor later on, and then going up to Rastafari. So
Yes, I. Is what I had in the book, did we talk about the original governorship after his brother Yilma, the governorship of Hara? Did we talk about that? The after his brother was the governor and he got the position, a lot of times he was taken away from the role because he was still studying. He was still so young at that time. And there is a mention in the My Life and Ethiopia's Progress that even solidifies some of the research on Yeshimabet's mother, the same Walata Ihata, who, she trod the earth long after her daughter's transition. And His Majesty says, I did not worry about my affairs in Hara as they were being handled by my very capable grandmother. And that grandmother would have been Yeshimabet's mother. And I thought that's so mighty because this is the woman of the Guragi and Amhara descent. So that family, how they like to say now with what's going on in Tigray, with the Amhara and the Tigray, the Oromo, and this division that they speak about, that division is heard of in the Irids of Ayanai Jah, because even then, the Guragi grandmother left her in charge to run the affairs in Hara while he continued his studying, as was required to do this, this mighty work.
Rastafari. So we give thanks because Rastafari is still asking, is there any other presenter you want to introduce?
Oh, no. I pray thee, Rasaivi and Rasaivi. No, it was just Brother Johnny and I. I are riding up a mighty tree light Isis over here in Brandywine. So ones are on the grounds, the harpsman, the players of instruments, the chefs. So Brother Johnny and I took time out. Yeah, they're waiting.
All right, let me do it quickly because we said coming up to 1916 now, when the clergy, when the ministers, when all the council members saw that Lygiasu was going down the wrong road. He was siding with Turks and Germans and all, and he was going on a tangent after Islam, taking the line of Judah from the flag, putting up that there is no God but Allah, and all these things that created a stalemate with the Iraqi. They said, no, this is not the way of an emperor of Ethiopia. So when they brought it to Tafari, Rastafari, who was then crowned in 1916, when they brought it to him, he said to them, no, it is not for me to decide. I swore before the great emperor Menelik that I will do nothing to usurp the authority of Lygiasu. So it's up to you and the clergy to decide his fate. If he has violated, I am not the one to have him removed. So they had a meeting, they consulted, they pointed out many violations, and they called for his impeachment. That's in 1916. So on September 27, 1916, we have him been impeached. Started to ascend the throne as the first woman since Sheba, and she made a vow. And I always ask, which one of your daughters will make such a vow? Because she said, from this day on, I will no longer live with a man. I will remain celibate. She was not forced to do so. She was not asked by the clergy to do so. But she found it in her to say, that's good, sir. From this day, I will not live with you as my husband. And he agreed, and they had a divorce. And she sat on the throne. She said, since God has granted me this throne as a woman, I make a vow not to live. No longer with a man. So she sat on the throne, and then Rastafari, the Jasmine Rastafari, I know, was then crowned. Rastafari come in, here to the imperial throne, Ras of Rasses, judge of judges, regent plenipotentiary, and he was ready. The government was now on his shoulders as a fulfillment of Isaiah 9 verse 6. Unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and a government shall be upon his shoulders, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, the Ever-Living Father, and the Prince of Peace.
Selassie. Rastafari. Rastafari.
And God is Trinity. So therefore his name would have been Haile Selassie, mighty God. Haile, might, God, Trinity. So Isaiah 9 verse 6 was then fulfilled. But of the increase of his government and peace, there shall be no end upon the throne of David. So he was in line and then continued his work, as young Rastafari, then, had Ethiopia admitted as a member of the League of Nations against odds. When Europe said, no, we can't have this little uncivilized country come join the nations among nations. His Majesty had to have a fight. Rastafari had a fight with the League. That even when he employed an Italian, His Majesty employed an Italian to represent Ethiopia's case to the League, that His Majesty told his representative, tell them at the League, said, when Europe were living in caves as savages, we Ethiopians practiced the highest form of Christianity. So we were talking to about being backward. So Rastafari did everything to win Ethiopia's claim to be among the nations of nations. So we have to salute that great name, Rastafari, fighting politically on our behalf. So 1916, we were printing presses out of Britain's Regency, out of Europe, on the first visit to Europe in 1924, start printing sacred books, better than gas, Cameron of gas, and Majesty started education because we felt that, yes, this was the way forward to Ethiopia. Then they try to get Zani to again, see man, all time of things them try, I wonder what things with Zani to, I mean, they do humility and grace and proper reasoning and intellectual ability, won the favor of Zani too. And in 1928, she agreed that he must be crowned Mingos Tafari. became king, and being king now, he was more empowered with more authority to do things. And then, as you know, Emperor Zaltu on the 2nd of April died from a condition, and then Nyahbinghi was then proclaimed emperor elect. And His Majesty took 7 months to organize the coronation, and the history tells us of how grandeur that coronation was. You know, all 52 nations of the world then came to Ethiopia, sent their representative, and they came and bowed before a black royal family. We know that we have to give thanks because this was the first time in history we have representative of these European powers going to Africa, bowing before a black family from the house of David. So we give thanks. And then, having become emperor, we have the full authority now of governance. And in the first year, gave Ethiopia a written constitution. First leader of the world ever do that. First monarch ever do that in the world to share power with his people. And Majesty became that person, sharing power with his people through a constitution that instituted parliament. You know, His Majesty set out now with education now of the illiterate millions that became, you know, Minister of Education for many years, seeing to it that the blind was educated, you know, the dumb, you know, seeing that those who were physically able went to school because he had a vision that the only way Ethiopia can reclaim its rightful place, it is through education. So we give thanks to Our Majesty for such work. There's no Ethiopian today who can say they did not benefit from His Majesty laying his foundation, you know, gave Ethiopia its first airline, its first aviation, gave Africa its first aviation school, its first airline, the road hospital, school from private money. I mean, to talk about his contribution to Ethiopia, it is so much. But you know, so like a bad mind boy and Pope Rome sit down and grudge his progress that this king was making and send Benito Mussolini, that Jesuit, over to Ethiopia with the blessing of Pius XI to try to disturb the progressiveness of the line of Judah. And we know if we talk about that the chapter there, Sister Valentina will reach out in tonight and we're going to start Bingi until we have hours. But we can just say His Majesty's rule in conquering the Italians in 1941 was a pivotal role in world history. We know his presence at the League set Ethiopia up in a positive way and placed Haile Selassie in the hearts and minds of all nations of the world, because then he prophesied to the world that judgment will take place, matches striking Ethiopia will burn in Europe, and it did happen, and he came back 27 years after in 1963 and tell them that when I mounted the rostrum in Geneva in 1936, he said, I prophesied, I told you what would have happened. He said, history testified to the accuracy of the warning I gave. And the world realized now that, yes, the king prophesied and it did manifest. World War II took place. You know, Majesty became Man of the Year then. And then his role in Africa just intensified. There's no because trouble went on in Africa. Your Majesty wasn't a part of. Your Majesty ensured that the approach to African unity in different Casablanca, Moravia, and Monrovia could not have been the approach African unity from a position of oneness. So the OA became a reality under his leadership, and we talk about his role. We can say Haile Selassie first was really a true liberator to the continent, and his work exemplified in such a way that, you know, Africa celebrated him as a founding father of African unity. You know, he brought Ethiopia into the 20th century in a nice way, and Her Majesty, you know, his foundation, his whole works, his 44 years on the throne, proved that his reign in Ethiopia was truly the golden era in Ethiopia. what is happening in Ethiopia now. If Abiy just take selected speeches and read it, and if the Tigrayans read it, it might still put up their tribalism, don't want the doors for foreign intervention. We cannot afford this. We pray for the peace of Ethiopia as we, probably look at, we are coming up close to our close. We still want to see up with that big chant before we go. Sister Wallet, is there anything else you want to say? Your panel want to say? Because
yeah, we're gonna seal up with the Bingi chant. I see Brother Robbie is on there. Brother Robbie Shilliam. Brother Robbie, today I want to give a statement on Rastafari International. Today I have something to say on behalf of the Sacrament Rastafari University. So Sacru.
Yes, I give thanks, Sister Wallet. Can the eye hear?
Yes, we can hear the eye.
Yes, glory to word, glory to sound, glory to power. It's a blessing to be here and to speak with the eye on this flight of His Majesty. I just wanted to block a quick sound on the UK connection with His Majesty. I was part of a set of ones who did a part of Mama Desta's Rastafari movement exhibition in 2014, and then we took it forward to the UK, and it became known as Rastafari in Motion, which charted the history of His Majesty in the UK and the Rastafari movement in the UK. And I worked with that with ones like Rashango Baku, Ras Kostafari, Sister Stella Headley. And I wanted just to block two sounds on that. One is that the only place outside of Ethiopia that His Majesty called home was Fairfield House in Bath in England, and he called that home. And what I see it as is basically the Rastafari embassy of the West, and I say that, and it links actually to the history of Pinnacle. And I could do a little bit of reasoning on this, right? Because His Majesty bought the house in the summer of 1936, and then he went forward to Ethiopia 4 years later in 1940, and there was a moment in that portion of history where the only liberated territory on the African continent was actually the first floor, the upstairs of Fairfield House, where His Majesty had his office and his administrators, and they were guiding the resistance movement from overseas. And it's in precisely that era where we get Pinnacle. So it's an interesting reasoning to think about them two sites together, because, like I said, it's the only place outside of Ethiopia that His Majesty actually called his home. So that's the first thing, that there might be some other international coordinates which I can think of when we're telling the history of Rastafari. And the second thing is that there's a picture of His Majesty taken at Fairfield House, because he used to listen to he used to get recordings of the reports on how the war against the fascists were going, and he used to listen to it in Fairfield House, and one's reported tears and high emotion. And there's a picture of His Majesty, which is not the usual picture which I usually cite up. It's not a picture of one who is facing the cameras of the world with strong shoulders, but it's a picture. Ones might say vulnerability. I wouldn't say that, but I would say of the weight of the world on his shoulders. And I'm saying that because God and man in God, the whole human experience is an iritical experience. And as Mama Walete said at the beginning, You know, we're working through trials and tribulations in Ethiopia now, but also around the world with the pandemic. And the weight of the world is on I and I's shoulders. But I and I can take comfort that the weight of the world was on His Majesty's soldiers too, in the one place that he called home outside of Ethiopia. But that within a few years, he'd be sitting back in the palace saying that with faith, courage and a just cause, David can still conquer Goliath. So for these few words, I give thanks.
Yes, Ras Robbie, we give thanks for the eyes, Irit, for that analysis and joyful 129th celebration, Iowa to the eye. The eye coming down to the eyes is? Okay, Rastafari. Yes, Ras Ivai, that was it for I and I on this end. And I give thanks for the moments.
Thanks to several letters, thanks to the ones who were involved in the technicality of the IDOR and ones here.
Yes.
We just want to end up with a blessed chant. We just put the
Yes.
seal on thing as we all go off to our respective places of ISIS. And we just ask that ones convey the love from the Pittsburgh Nyahbinghi Center to all the family.
We give thanks.
Going forward. So Ras, I have given black a sound while we get the harpers together.
Okay.
Give thanks and to one
Thanks, have
been a part of the listenership, even though not presenting. But I just want to say to the I and the IDOR family that I look forward to the continuous cooperation and communication. Yes, between I and I within the Nyahbinghi family and to see how I can coordinate the wider Rastafari family, whether Bobo, whether 12 tribe, whether Nyahbinghi, because at the end of the day, is one utterance is I and I have. Yes. So irrespective of the other differences, and I cannot allow those philosophical differences to keep I and I apart. And I need to work towards centralizing not only, for example, nationally here in Jamaica, but universally. We know there are jealousies, there are egos, but at the end of the day, like His Majesty said in 1963, there are those who claim that African unity is impossible because of the forces that pull us some in that direction, others in that. There are those who speak of African unity in sepulchral tone. Let us confound them and send them into confusion. But there are others who look to Africa in awe for a bright future. So that is the road I is on. Irrespective of the house or the mansion, but that is what as Rastafari and looking forward to the continuous communication between I and I within the big house.
Yes, sir. We give thanks. Love in the heart. Yes, Pit 4. Love.
So we'll let you know we're still waiting on a copy for the Nyahbinghi order so we can share in our many classrooms at Big the book of Yeshua. Yeah? So
yes.
Yes, Sister Valeti?
Yes, sir, Rasaiva. It will come.
I'm sure. So I have on the arcs, we're gonna seal up with one final chant. Most ones gonna fresh up now for the night of ISIS, but we still want to seal up with a nice little chant on the Farizberg. It was in 1892 in the province of our son was born the King of Kings. And he was proud of the Lord. On this birthday, let us praise him, praise him, praise him.
Glory.
From the east to the west to the north and south. High and low, praise Rastafari, hallelujah. Sons and daughters, let us praise
Mighty I, when I reach in Rastafari, mighty one of salvation. I love you.
That's right. With a heavy heart, with a heavy heart. Love it, the host family. Blessings. Oh, it's a heavy heart to seal it. We can dance. Yes, Mama, I feel. Love in the house. Blessings, love. We can dance. Yes, with a heavy heart, I have to seal. I'm going to go chant in Brandon, London. We're giving up glory. Glory and Isaac. Takedama, we highly classy. Together, we shook Rome tonight. Rome shook. Shook down, down. Glory and Isaac. Guys, last night. Yeah! All right.
Beyond.
Give thanks before Nyahbinghi. Give thanks, Rastafari family. Love, love, love. Count up the Isis. Yes, I shook the thing, shook it to its very core. And let them know, say Rastafari, highly Selassie versus Almighty. Rastafari. We give thanks.
Family on this platform, we give thanks. This is moment as ones go forward. We are respective tabernacles, we are respective places. We could not have ended without saying, Happy birthday, Rastafari. Happy birthday,
Rastafari.
Happy birthday, Mustafa. Happy birthday to you.
Yes, sir. Rastafari.
Thanks, family.
I love in the house. Perfect love and Isis. I love love. Love, love.
So a number of faces in the place. We see, Ras and all the jazzmen.
Yes, I. Yes, I.
The young prince who take in this, visual platform. We give thanks.
Yes, I. We give thanks. Yes, I.
Ras guys who are family, sister, we let just want to give thanks to all the island who tune in tonight. Give thanks for doing the, coordination that this could have happened. And I look forward to these things happening between I within the Nyahbinghi house and the international Rastafari community. Again and again and again.
Love in the house. Yes, sir. Blessings, Brother Jakes, Sister Andreen, Jelani Naya, Bongo I, Mama Ilu, King Kush, Rasma Copy, Warrior, Brother Robbie, Carlisle, Marvin, Sister Sheba, Mama Ifia, love in the house, Dijas Match Kwasi, Sister Tasha, Bingi Carlton, Pit 4, Nyahbinghi, Jace, Mama Kua, Isla Benjamin, love, love, love. Come and chant Isis if you're in the Maryland area, DC, Maryland, Virginia. Isis riding in Brandywine. We are crushed Rome. We are shook the thing. Come in, come heal up the King of Kings, Kadamawi, Haile Selassie, Jah Rastafari. We give thanks. Love, 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 Mama. Fire. Love, love. Bless up, Mama Baby, Mama Fire. Plate cloth, all the ones.
With word, power, and sound. So now, being a family.